The day was dying, orange and purple streaks painting the sky beneath bruised clouds. The last rays of sunlight struggled to break through, casting a surreal glow over the horizon. It was the kind of evening that felt heavy with anticipation, as if the world itself was holding on to a secret. On the ground, a single private jet sat alone on runway 4, its silver skin reflecting the stormy twilight. The aircraft looked almost out of place, a sleek and modern machine surrounded by the wildness of the weather and the emptiness of the airfield. Its presence was both commanding and strangely vulnerable. Rain hammered the asphalt and the jet's metal, while wind howled across the empty airfield. Each drop seemed to echo in the silence, the storm's fury making the jet appear even more isolated. The relentless downpour blurred the lines between earth and sky, turning the runway into a river of reflections. No other planes, no ground crew, just this one jet, poised and waiting. The absence of movement made the scene feel suspended in time, as if the world had paused to watch what might happen next. Its engines were silent, but it seemed to hum with a strange, latent energy. The jet almost vibrated with potential, as if it was ready to spring to life at any moment, yet it remained perfectly still, a guardian in the storm. The cockpit windows stared blankly at the gathering storm. No lights, no movement inside. It was impossible to tell if anyone was watching from within, or if the jet was truly abandoned to the elements. The airport was a ghost town, terminal buildings hulking in shadow, the control tower dark. Not a single figure moved across the tarmac, and the only sound was the storm's relentless assault. The storm intensified, rain blurring the world, the jet's silhouette dissolving into a phantom shape. The boundaries between reality and imagination seemed to fade, leaving only the sense of something momentous about to occur. A sudden fork of lightning illuminated the airfield, the jet gleaming with an eerie, otherworldly light. For a brief instant, every detail was revealed in stark relief, then vanished again into darkness. Thunder cracked, shaking the ground, a signal that something was about to begin. The air vibrated with tension, as if the storm itself was waiting for a response. The jet remained, a silent protagonist in a play written by the storm, its purpose unknown. It stood as a solitary sentinel, guarding its secrets beneath the roiling sky. The world held its breath, waiting for the secret to unfold. In that charged silence, anything felt possible, and the solitary jet on runway 4 became the center of a story yet to be told. Without warning, a low hum vibrated from the jet, growing louder as its engines whirred to life. Lights snapped on, cutting through the rain. The jet rolled forward, slicing through puddles with deliberate grace. The roar of its engines drowned out the storm as it accelerated, nose lifting toward the churning clouds. With a final, thunderous cry, the jet left the ground, climbing steeply into the heart of the storm. It vanished into the clouds, the sound of its engines abruptly cut off. The runway was left empty, the silence heavier than before. For a moment it seemed the event was a hallucination, a trick of the storm, but the emptiness it left behind was real, and deeply unsettling. In the regional control center, David sat hunched over his console, eyes fixed on the glowing radar. He tracked the unauthorized takeoff, a ghost on his radar, a blip that shouldn't have been there at all. The room was filled with the low hum of electronics, but David's focus narrowed to that single, silent anomaly. The flight, X-77, had no flight plan, no communication, just a green dot climbing through the storm. Lightning flickered outside the windows, casting eerie shadows across the equipment as the blip moved higher, defying every protocol. David called out, "Unidentified aircraft X-77, this is regional control, identify yourself, over." His voice was steady, but his hands trembled slightly as he gripped the microphone. Silence answered him, the dot climbing steadily. The only response was the soft whir of the radar and the relentless ascent of the unknown plane. He tried again, urgency creeping in. "You are in controlled airspace. Acknowledge." The tension in the room thickened, every controller now watching the screen. Nothing. The dot flickered, vanished, then reappeared, now unstable, blinking in and out. It was as if the aircraft itself was phasing between worlds, refusing to be tracked. The data stream was corrupted, unreadable. Numbers and symbols scrolled across the monitor, but none of it made sense. Panic rippled through the control room. This was no ordinary malfunction. Whispers spread among the staff, fear rising with every second of silence. "Try all frequencies," the supervisor ordered, voice sharp and urgent, trying to regain control of the spiraling situation. David sent out distress calls, but only silence replied. The emptiness on the other end of the line was more chilling than static. The icon glitched across the screen, a digital ghost, mocking their efforts. It danced just out of reach, taunting the controllers with its unpredictability. The silence felt aggressive, a refusal to be known. It pressed in on the team, making the air feel heavy and charged with dread. The room filled with dread as the mystery deepened. Every eye was glued to the screen, every breath held, as if waiting for the unknown to reveal itself. X-77's silence was no accident, it was a warning. Something was out there, and it did not want to be found. Tension thickened in the control room as all eyes fixed on the erratic blip of X-77. Their calls were met with emptiness, until a new sound crackled through, a low, distorted hum, punctuated by static. It wasn't a voice, but a machine's broken attempt at speech, unsettling and rhythmic. The static felt like a presence, a malevolent whisper from the storm. Suddenly the hum sharpened into a screech, making everyone flinch. Then, silence. The icon for X-77 blinked once, then vanished. No fading, no warning, just gone. No debris, no distress call, only the memory of static and that final screech. The ghost flight hadn't crashed. It had vanished, leaving professionals grasping at the impossible. The silence it left behind was its only answer. X-77's disappearance triggered an immediate military response. Alarms blared at the Air Force Base. 2 F-16s were scrambled, pilots briefed on the unknown. The fighters launched into the storm, radar sweeping for any sign of the rogue jet. For minutes the sky was empty, until one pilot spotted it visually, flying calmly above the clouds. The private jet cruised as if nothing was wrong, lights on, steady. The fighters closed in, issuing commands. "Unidentified aircraft, follow us and land immediately." No response. The jet flew on, oblivious to the military presence. The pilots could see it clearly, a sleek, silent shape against the moonlit sky. It was as if the plane was flying itself, deaf to the world. The enigma deepened with every mile. The fighters flanked the jet, close enough to peer into its cockpit. Viper, the lead pilot, expected to see a crew. He saw empty seats, harnesses hanging loose. "Eagle, confirm my visual, cockpit is empty." Eagle banked for a look. Confirmed, no one's there. The controls glowed, but no hands guided them. The cabin lights flickered in a slow, deliberate rhythm, revealing rows of empty seats. The flickering felt like a signal, not a malfunction. The pilots flew alongside, protocols useless in the face of the impossible. How do you force a plane to land when no one is flying it? The jet continued, a ghost ship in the sky, its purpose a terrifying enigma. The empty cockpit was a violation of reality itself. The ghost flight and its escorts emerged into a moonlit night over the Atlantic, the ocean a black abyss below. The water stretched endlessly, reflecting only the faintest shimmer of the moon, as if swallowing all light and hope. The air was thick with tension, every pilot hyper-aware of the unnatural silence that pressed in from all sides. The jet flew east, unwavering toward a destination off any map. Its path was straight and resolute, as if guided by an invisible hand, ignoring all attempts at communication. The escorts kept their distance, unsure whether to fear what was inside, or what might happen if they got too close. Suddenly the cabin lights stopped flickering. A single window glowed. The rest of the aircraft was swallowed by darkness, making that one illuminated portal seem like an eye staring back at the world. Viper saw a shadow move past the light, a tall, thin silhouette, featureless and absorbing the glow. It lingered for a moment, as if aware of being watched, then melted back into the shadows. "Did you see that?" Viper whispered, his voice barely audible over the hum of the engines, heart pounding in his chest. "I saw something," Eagle replied, shaken. His hands trembled on the controls, eyes fixed on the spectral plane ahead. The presence of a shadowy figure was more terrifying than an empty plane. It suggested purpose, intent, something unknown and possibly malevolent. The jet felt like a hearse, carrying a spectral passenger across the sea. Every mile it traveled deepened the sense of dread, as if the ocean itself recoiled from its passage. The fighters could only watch, powerless to intervene. Their training offered no answers for this, no protocol for the supernatural. The ocean and sky seemed the only fitting witnesses to this phenomenon. The world below and above was silent, as if holding its breath for what might come next. The plane was a ghost in every sense, detached from the living world. It moved with a purpose known only to itself, untouched by time or fear. Its journey was its own, and its secret remained sealed. Somewhere in the darkness, the truth waited, silent, patient, and utterly unreachable. Low on fuel, the fighters broke off, leaving the ghost flight alone over the Atlantic. The jet continued east for another hour, its path unwavering. Then it began a smooth, controlled descent. No distress, no malfunction. The nose dipped, the plane arced gracefully toward the water. It skimmed the waves, moonlight glinting off its wings. The jet touched the ocean, floated for a moment, then began to sink. No explosion, no debris, just a silent disappearance beneath the waves. The ocean returned to calm as if nothing had happened. No evidence remained. The silence was absolute. The end was as mysterious as the beginning. The ocean held its secret. The night went on, indifferent to the vanishing. Ghost Flight X-77 became an aviation legend. Search teams found nothing, no wreckage, no trace. The official file was closed unexplained. The story lived on, whispered among pilots and controllers. The control tower's recording, static and a final screech, became infamous, its source never identified. Some claimed to hear a whispering voice in the static, speaking an unknown language. The abandoned airfield remains, locals reporting strange lights and engine sounds on stormy nights. Skeptics dismiss the tales, but the mystery endures. Sometimes ships at sea pick up a low, distorted hum, a dead channel echo from the abyss. The ghost flight is still out there, lost between worlds, its secret forever unsolved.